Hello everyone and welcome back to the Inner Sanctum YouTube channel. I'm your host Ari Stamatakos and today we are back with another episode of Aussies Abroad. Now if you haven't seen an episode of this series before, basically we go through the most recent football happenings across the weekend and take a look at the best performing Australian footballers outside of Australia. Now without further ado, let's get into it. So as you can tell by the title on the thumbnail, we'll be touching on Jackson Irvine and his brilliant performance for his club side, St.Pauli, in the German second division. They got a 1-0 win over Kaiserslautern over the weekend. In fact, fellow Socceroo Conor Metcalf did get the goal to secure St.Pauli all 3 points, but we're going to be touching on Jackson Irvine in much more detail this week. Of course, he's a player that has been a stalwart of the Socceroos of the Socceroos setup for a long time now. He was very, very crucial in the qualification for the World Cup and played a very crucial part in the World Cup campaign itself. He played all 4 games, starting in that midfield alongside Aaron Moy and Riley McGree, and he was a fantastic player to kind of settle things down. I think that's something that really has been a staple of Jackson Irvine's game throughout his career, especially and it's been highlighted especially with the Socceroos. He's a very versatile player who can do quite a few things. He has been used more often than not as a number 6 kind of box-to-box midfielder, having the ability to sit slightly deeper into the midfield, slightly deeper in a midfield double pivot or in a midfield 3, and be a slightly more defensively minded midfielder. He wouldn't go as far as to say that he's a natural or all out and out defensive midfielder like someone like maybe a Camp Devlin or Keanu Backus is for the Socceroos. But what you get with Irvine is you get a very consistent, very energetic player who can sit in that midfield and really act almost like 2 players. Has the ability to go forward and make an impact that way more as like an advanced number 8. We saw in the qualification game against the UAE, he was able to make that late run into the box and score the goal. That was due to him. Playing in a slightly more advanced position in that game and playing in a more aggressive position. He was able to get into those areas, making those late runs into the box, and he of course scored the goal. But what we saw at the World Cup and what we saw potentially in the game against Peru only a week later was a slightly more combative midfielder than what we saw in the game against the UAE. Now, this did come about through the formation change that Graham Arnold did go through for the World Cup. He, of course, did play Riley McGree instead of Adrian Hustic, and then, of course, Aaron Moy alongside Jackson Irvine in this 4-4-1-1 with McGree playing slightly ahead. This kind of, I wouldn't say forced, but this kind of put the emphasis on Jackson Irvine to be a slightly more combative, industrious midfielder, doing the like 1%ers, if you were to call them that, and doing all the unsung hero stuff that really allowed the Socceroos to get their counter-attack game going in that World Cup campaign and really allowed them to really flourish in that final third. This is something that we have seen in his role, or in his seasons, or in this season I should say, for St.Pauli in the second Bundesliga. He is a player that can go forward, like I said, and can be that not attacking number 8, but does most of his work and does more of his better work, if I would say that in the defensive half, in the midfield third, where he can really be that combative, industrious, energetic box-to-box midfielder and really influencing in every area of the pitch rather than just in the attacking third. If we bring up his heat map, from this game. This is the heat map from his game, I should say. That's a little bit of a spoiler for what we're going to be touching on a little bit later on. This is his heat map from the game, and we can see here what exactly he offers. He's a player that likes to sit in that midfield double pivot and really shuttle along those lines just in front of the back 3 or back 4 that he's playing in, and can really do a lot in the defensive sense. In this game, he played on the right hand side of a double pivot in a midfield 2. However, as you can tell by this heat map, he did like to slot slightly more centrally, and be a more traditional defensive midfielder. In a sense, he played a more defensively minded midfield role in this game, playing in that double pivot, sliding slightly more centrally, and being the base of that midfield for St.Pauli, who were then able to really capitalise and counter off his ability to be a really good breaker up of play in a sense, and really put out spot fires, but then also being able to carry the ball forward, to play good passes forward, and to break in between the lines. Like I said, he's very versatile in the roles that he's able to play, or in the positions he's able to play, but he's also very versatile in the way that he likes to play, in a sense. Very good in terms of out of possession, very energetic, has very high football IQ, so he can snuff out opposition attacks and can really put out spot fires just in front of that back 4 or back 3, depending on what formation his side are playing. But he also has the offensive nous and the ability, when he has the ball, to make those breaking or those line breaking passes, to make those passes in between the lines, or to carry the ball forward and to carry it forward in a very energetic, very direct way. He does have the physical stature. He's quite tall, quite strong, quite quick as well. So he can be very direct with the ball at his feet and really take the ball and take the ball forward and drive at the opposition defense. If you take a look at some of the stats, he had 73 touches for the whole game, and he had 39 out of his 54 passes were successful, 72% completion rate. However, from those, he had 2 key passes and 1 big chance created. This once again goes to show his ability to not only be very defensively solid, which some of the stats we'll touch on a little bit later, but also having the ability to be a very good playmaker and an offensive asset for his side, for whatever side he plays for. He had 1 successful dribble, so he went 100% in that department. He won 8 of his 9 ground duels and 6 of his 8 aerial duels. So once again, very combative, very industrious. Likes to get stuck in, likes to get his foot in, and really be a solid midfielder. Can both attack and defend. And some of his defensive stats: 1 clearance, 3 interceptions, and 2 tackles. All very, very good stats for a player of his calibre and a player that plays in his position. Very capable defensively, and gives St.Pauli and the Socceroos as well a very good base to build off, because we know what we're going to get out of Jackson Irvine. We know how good he is. He doesn't really waver from his average performance in a sense. He will always give you a 7, a 6.5, 7, 7.5 out of 10 in every game that he plays. He's such a consistent performer, such a professional, and just knows what to do to get the job done. Very versatile in his role. Like I said, he knows what to do if he's playing as a number 8. He knows what he's doing if he needs to play as a number 6, and if he has to play as a more box to box and more auxiliary style midfielder, he knows what to do in that department as well. So Jackson Irvine, despite Conor Metcalf getting the glory and getting the highlights of his winner in the 70th minute for St.Pauli in their win against Kaiserslautern, I think Jackson Irvine was the man of the match for that game, and really allowed the likes of Conor Metcalf and other players to really to use their ability to break the game open and to eventually get the much needed 3 points for St.Pauli. So he's gone a little bit under the radar this season, went a little bit under the radar at the World Cup for the Socceroos, but Jackson Irvine was St.Pauli's man of the match in my opinion, and was the best performing Australian footballer outside of Australia over the weekend. So let's move on to another Australian who played very well over the weekend, and that is, of course, Riley McGree. Now, we've already spoken at length about Riley McGree in this series already, but he did play very well in Middlesbrough's 3-1 win over Cardiff over the weekend. He did get the consolation, or the match-winning goal in a sense. He scored in the 90th minute to secure the 3 points and to get that 3-1 victory for Middlesbrough, and that puts them in a position where they are now challenging for automatic promotion places in the Championship, and that'll be very good if we can get another Australian in the Premier League, and we'll touch on the other Australian in the Premier League a little bit later on. But as we could say, if we remember the map right here, that of course was the heat map that accidentally showed up in the Jackson Irvine segment. But yeah, here we go. Here is Riley McGree's heat map over for his game against Cardiff in their 3-1 win. As you can tell, he's a player that likes to get into these advanced positions. We saw this in the game against or we saw this in the World Cup, I should say. His ability to break into those areas into the final third and really create both on the right hand side and on the left hand side. He's very versatile, but he also has the ability to drop deep and create, and to be a little bit more composed and to be a little bit more of a midfield asset rather than a final third asset. He played on the left-hand side of an attacking midfield 3, so almost like a left attacking midfielder or a left winger, and we can see here that's where he did most of his work, in those 3 areas on the left-hand side. However, he did go onto that right-hand side at times and really affect play from that area and really implement or really have that attacking emphasis from that area of the pitch. He is a very versatile player, like we've said. He can play centrally on the left or even on the right, can even play as like a false 9 as well if absolutely necessary. So some of the key stats from this game is that he had obviously that 1 goal. He had 73 touches, went at 87% pass efficiency. He had 2 key passes and 2 accurate long balls from his 2 attempts. So just a very solid, very well-rounded, very just did his job style performance from Riley McGree. He's definitely kicking on and really taking the form that he got from the World Cup, of course. Was very, very crucial in Australia's 4 World Cup games, played in that number 10 role as well as on the left, and was very, very crucial in that. He had the ability to, he's taken that form from the World Cup and really kicked on for his club side Middlesbrough in the second half of this season. And if he does get Middlesbrough automatically promoted, or if he gets Middlesbrough promoted through the playoffs, that of course will be a fantastic sign for him. He could potentially get another move to another Premier League side, or he could stick with Middlesbrough and take them or be with them as they return to the Premier Premier League, or if they don't get promoted, his stocks may have risen enough to a point where a Premier League side in the maybe lower half of the table will look at him and think that he could add to their attacking stocks and add to their midfield stocks, because he's a very versatile, very clinical, very fluid player who can do a lot, and has shown that it isn't a form-based thing. I think this is the level that Riley McGree will be at for the foreseeable future. I don't think he's hitting a purple patch of form. I think this is just how good he actually is, and he just hasn't been able to show it over the recent years. Of course, we all know his ability when he was at the A-League, and we all know just how good he was when he was playing in Australia. He just hasn't been able to get all the things to fall in the right place for him, and it has now at Middlesbrough. He's on a very, very good run of form. Despite me saying I don't think it is form, this period of 4 or 5 weeks has been very good for him, and I do see him kicking on and having this patch of form extend for the rest of this season, and hopefully for the season beyond that. So yeah, Riley McGree was fantastic for Middlesbrough in their 3-1 win over Cardiff over the weekend. So let's finish up this episode of Aussies Abroad by looking at Harry Souttar and his performance for Leicester over the weekend. He of course made his debut last week and got a very unfortunate own goal in his debut, but he responded very, very well in Leicester's 4-1 win over Tottenham. He was a fantastic player. He really shut out Harry Kane and really was very, very solid defensively, as we can tell by his 1 clearance, 1 block shot, 1 interception and 3 tackles. However, his 1 assist really, really showed the multifaceted nature of Harry Souttar. When you look at Harry Souttar, like I mentioned in last week's episode, when you look at Souttar, when you look at his stature, when you look at his kind of player profile in a sense, you wouldn't expect him to be as good as what he is with the ball at his feet and his ability to play very good passes and to be a ball-playing centre-back, but he showed that in this game in spades. He had 1 key pass, when an 88% pass efficiency, and had 5 of his 7 long balls were successful. Once again, this goes to show he's very, very good in both areas of the pitch. In terms of defensively, super solid, and of course, with the ball at his feet, he's unbelievable as well. This should be just a kind of platform where he can now kick on and really be a solid player for Leicester this season. Leicester, of course, have struggled so far this season. Hopefully, Souttar can come in, steady the ship, and really be a solid player for them and can kick on in these next couple of months, and then, of course, into next season, where potentially Riley McGree may join him in the Premier League, may join him at Leicester, perhaps, who knows. But yeah, he's a player that was very, very good over the weekend. Shut out Harry Kane to an exceptional level, and of course was very, very good with the ball at his feet. If you bring up his heat map, just to show where he likes to occupy, of course, can play on the halfway line, can play slightly deeper, has the ability to he has the recovery pace needed where he can play on the halfway line and can get back and really make an influence with his recovery runs. Despite, like I said, not many people would expect him to have the pace that he does with a man of his height and his stature, but he has the ability to play on the halfway line and to use his pace to make those recovery runs and get those runs and get those players and track those players and make those runs in behind. So yeah, Harry Souttar was exceptional for Leicester over the weekend. One of their better players in their 4-1 win, and hopefully this is just a platform where they can kick on and be one of Leicester's better, if not best players in the latter half of the season. So yes, thank you all very much for watching another episode of Aussies Abroad. Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Make sure you leave your thoughts on any other players you would want mentioned in future episodes or let me know some players who you thought deserve some more recognition for their performance over the weekend. Make sure you subscribe to the Intersectum YouTube channel, like the video. See you guys next time, and goodbye.